Good morning and welcome to Thursday morning. It is the 11th of November today, Veterans Day today. We are moving on to the next chapter. When You Give is the title of this chapter. When You Give. It comes from Matthew 6 verses 1 through 4. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. The author we're going to hear from today is an old church father. Back, I believe he was the bishop of Constantinople back in the 5th century, Archbishop of Constantinople, John Chrysostom. I'm not sure that I've ever pronounced his name correctly, but that's how I say it, John Chrysostom. He's a church father, an early saint in the church. His dates for living were 347 to 407 AD, so back pretty far to the beginning of the church. John Chrysostom says this: Indeed, this also is theft, not to share one's possessions. Perhaps this statement seems surprising to you, but do not be surprised. I shall bring you testimony from the divine scriptures, saying that not only the theft of others' goods, but also the failure to share one's own goods with others is theft and swindle and defraudation. Never heard that word before. Know about fraud, but what is this testimony? Accusing the Jews by the prophet, God says, the earth has brought forth her increase, and you have brought forth your tithes, but the theft of the poor is in your houses. See Malachi 3, verses 8 through 10. Since you have not given the accustomed offerings, God says, you have stolen the goods of the poor. He says this to show the rich that they hold the goods of the poor, even if they have inherited them from their fathers, or no matter how they have gathered their wealth. And elsewhere, the scripture says, deprive not the poor of his living. That's actually in an apocryphal book, Sirach 4:1. To deprive is to take what belongs to another. For it is called deprivation when we take and keep what belongs to others. By this we are taught that when we do not show mercy, we will be punished just like those who steal. For our money is the Lord's, however we may have gathered it. If we provide, if we provide for those in need, we will obtain great plenty. This is why God has allowed you to have more. Not for you to waste on prostitutes, drink, fancy food, expensive clothes, and all the other kinds of indolence, but for you to distribute to those in need. Just as an official in the imperial treasury, if he neglects to distribute where he is ordered, but spends instead for his own indolence, pays the penalty, and is put to death. So also the rich man is a kind of steward of the money which is owed for distribution to the poor. He is directed to distribute it to his fellow servants who are in want. So if he spends more on himself than his need requires, he will pay the harshest penalty hereafter. For his own goods are not his own, but belong to his fellow servants. Therefore, let us use our goods sparingly, as belonging to others, so that they may become our own. How shall we use them sparingly, as belonging to others? when we do not spend them beyond our needs, and do not spend for our needs only, but give equal shares into the hands of the poor. If you are affluent, but spend more than you need, you will give an account of the funds which were entrusted to you. Teaching about stewardship is a pretty common subject, especially for Jesus. Especially for Jesus. He considers us only stewards of what he gives us, not the owners, not the possessors of it, not the ones who get to call the shots on where the money goes and how it's spent, but stewards. He's blessed us with what we have. And what we do with it shows where our allegiance is, to him or to ourselves, for his purposes or for our own. Money is a very, very spiritual subject in the scriptures. I pray we understand that, and I pray that we use what God has given us for the good of others. How can we see our brother in need, have the means to do something about it, and not do anything about it? How does the love of God abide in us? Blessings to you today. Be a blessing to others today.